Welcome back, Mark.
It's good to be back.
Oh my gosh. It's like, I will say, it doesn't feel like you've been gone that long, and it simultaneously feels like you've been gone forever.
Time flies.
We were having a lot of fun.
Out. Yeah. Get this guy out of here.
No.
It's good to be back.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's
it
good.
is.
I'm glad.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone missed you,
Well, that's nice.
and we missed your family,
Yeah.
and we're all very excited to get to know Phoebe.
Yep.
She was out and about yesterday
She
in
was.
worship.
Yeah.
So stinking cute.
She's a cutie.
She is strong too, like already holding her head up real good.
She is strong. Yeah.
She's super strong.
Yeah.
So love it.
Yep.
All good things.
Mm-hmm.
The weather is amazing. I got my
You're in full fall girl mode.
I am. My first pumpkin spice latte of the season. I have no shame. No shame for being basic.
I can remember the first time I got a pumpkin spice latte. Like, it's a distinct memory for me.
Yeah.
It was in Atlanta, Georgia, when I was in seminary.
Okay.
I was on my way to Con Ed 1. I don't remember what we were doing, but I was like, I'm going to try this new pumpkin spice latte they keep talking about.
It's all the rage.
And I got it, and I was like, ooh, I get it. But now it's way too sugary, and I can't drink it. But
I don't get them very often.
yeah.
I tend to just get it as like a little treat. It's a little treat because it's Monday and I was tired. But I also will buy just some syrup at home and just put some in my regular coffee.
Pumpkin
I won't
spice.
Yes, some pumpkin
syrup.
spice syrup.
Got it.
But I will do that from now until April, May. Not the pumpkin spice, but I like to when there's actual weather.
Yeah,
it's not just
it's
hot.
not 100 degrees.
Yeah, then I like to do a little
Right.
something special in the morning.
Yeah.
Because you have to wake up and the sun's not up.
Yep. Okay.
Speaking of fond memories, your sermon yesterday triggered a memory
Oh, okay.
of mine from church camp as a child.
Okay.
So let's all
I'm a little scared.
Let's all see if we can be re-traumatized together. Did you ever play the game Romans and Christians?
Yeah, we did. We called it Catacombs.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I've heard it called that.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly how you play. I remember that we walked out of the auditorium, the worship room,
Yeah.
and they wrote on our hands, and if you were a Christian, they put a little fish.
Yeah.
And then we'd spread out all over. Somehow we would get arrested. I don't
Right.
even know. But this is what made me think of this during your sermon. Then if we were arrested and in jail, we could sing a hymn and we could have
Bust
a jail
out
break.
of jail?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I never did that wrinkle.
Yeah. So I don't even remember what the point of the game was.
I don't know.
I have this vivid memory of being
Yeah.
hunkered down in the crafts building of Lakeview, which is saying that is very niche. I don't know, 10 people at the church will get that, but still. In the crafts building and singing a little song so that we could have a jailbreak.
Yeah.
So we could keep playing. So.
Just basically a Christian version of hide and seek.
Yeah, kind of.
A little more complicated.
It's a little more complicated.
Yeah.
But, there you have it. Romans and Christians.
That's hilarious.
Normal youth group game.
Yep.
Maybe I'll Google the rules and see if we could play that on Sunday night.
Resurrect.
Yeah. Bring that back out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say it was interesting because all of this stuff felt really familiar that we talked about on Sunday. It's not like any of it was conceptually you didn't have to do somersaults to get it. Yeah.
Brand new thing.
But at the same time, it did feel like something new. And I thought it was really good. So I'm excited to talk about it today. Woohoo. Let's get into it. Well, I'm Becca. I'm the pastor of Family Ministries here at Katy First.
And I'm Mark. I'm the senior pastor at Katy First. Come back after paternity leave.
Yay!
Woohoo!
Welcome to the Katy First Family Podcast, where we offer ideas, encouragement, and inspiration for you and your family to help you grow as joyful disciples of Jesus Christ. And this week, we are talking about our new worship series, which is called Home.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I said this in the sermon to sort of kick it off, but this has been one of those sermon series that has in my body, it's like something that's been in my gut sort of for a long time. And over the course of these 4 weeks, we'll kind of get to all the different nuances of what I hope the sermon series can help us sort of work out a little bit. But that sense, I think we all sort of share this sense in a number of different ways of trying to find what we would call home. And sometimes that means like a particular place. Sometimes it's a sense of like security and safety and belonging. And so this whole series is trying to explore that. And I wanted to start this really with how Brene Brown talks about belonging. I've used this in a number of sermons, so I love that quote. I don't have it here right directly in front of me, but in her book, Braving the Wilderness, which I love that book, highly recommend it to anyone. She talks about belonging not as fitting in, but rather this spiritual practice of belonging to yourself, so that you can not only be a part of community, but also, and she uses this language of standing alone in the wilderness, which is just her way of saying being who you really are, even if you're the only one that's like that. But doesn't mean you have to live life in isolation alone. And so true belonging is not changing who you are. It's being who you truly are in this community. And so then we looked at Philippians, and Philippians is one of my favorite New Testament books. I've always loved it. And then really the backstory that we get with that book and that community, and you look at Lydia, and you look at this girl who was enslaved in the temple, and you look at this Roman jailer, and they all have these really unique stories, and you go, oh, that was that's the people Paul was writing to at Philippi. And then when you kind of go back and reread his words of how much I love you, and how much from the very beginning God was doing this good work amongst you, and I want to continue, it just adds so many adds life and color and vibrancy to this picture of kind of really beautiful community that Paul talks about, that in reality it's really this diverse community. And that's what I think made the early church, and you read historians, that's what made the early church so remarkable. People from all sorts of different backgrounds all of a sudden are gathering together. And still today, that the church at our best, we are people of all different stripes and walks and places of life that have found a common ground. So exploring that and what it means for us to try to cultivate that, and not pretend that we're just going to stumble upon it somewhere and then, oh yeah, I finally found it. Wasn't this always somewhere? The reality is we got to participate in it and commit to it together. Yeah.
I have so many thoughts.
So many. I could see them. I could see them.
It smells like smoke in here. Do you see all these notes that I've been taking?
I did. When I sat down from the sermon, I was like, wow, Becca went to town on the notes.
I had a lot of feelings, a lot of thoughts.
How much time do we have?
Yeah, we literally don't have enough. Because, well, two things that I felt like really stood out. Yeah. That were important was, one, I did get part of the quote from Brene Brown. I wrote just literally it requires you, real true belonging requires you to be who you are. You can't be, some other version of you, or even some kind of cleaned up version. And I have this bad habit, and I think other people do too. When you exist in different spheres, so work and home and family or friends, that you have almost a slightly different version of yourself for each group, which isn't necessarily, I'm not trying to be and that's terrible. Yeah. But I do think that there is that those kind of hats maybe that we wear become things we can, instead of hats, they become masks that we can hide behind. Yeah. And so we never let people kind of see our some of ourself that can be some of our best self. So, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be this big thing.
Right.
But like when I first started as a pastor, everybody had always called me Becca. When I went to my first appointment, I was like, I'm Rebecca.
I'm Rebecca, y'all. Respect me.
Have I told you this story before?
Yeah.
And I like dressed up every day. And
Yeah.
and then by the end of like the first year, I was like, this is ridiculous. I can't pastor this way because this isn't who I am. And it was, it wasn't like I was pretending totally to be somebody else. I was just way overemphasizing one part.
Yeah.
And there's also, I'm very silly. You may have noticed. I can be pretty goofy.
Yeah, I've picked up on that.
Yeah. I like to sing little songs that I make up. And if I'm not, that is not a bad thing to like, and I think that we sometimes dress ourselves up in a way that people can miss even the best parts of us. Yeah. It's not about like, oh, bring all your mess. It's like, just bring your whole self. All of it, is good.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really good. But then the challenge for me is that sometimes I like it. Oh God, this is a bad thing to admit. Sometimes I appreciate when other people hold parts of themselves back because those are the parts that are going to directly challenge me. And you kept kind of referencing, the political climate that we're in now, and that's just going to intensify for the next several weeks. And I really want to be able to look at people that and I don't mean like a little disagree with, a little disagree with.
Yeah, you have like fundamental differences.
Yeah, like we have some solid differences. I am really praying through. I'm trying to see this season as a gift of how God is going to teach me and grow in me, because I'm not going to be able to do it myself. It's not like I can apply myself hard enough and I'll get it. Yeah. Grace is going to have to work in me in such a way that I can look at somebody who is saying something I fully think is wrong and maybe even harmful, and still see the beloved image of God in them. Yeah. And I am looking forward to that. Like I know that God's going to, I trust that work is going to be at least improved on. Right? I'm going on to perfection in Christian love. Yeah. But like I am genuinely excited about that as opposed to terrified. Yeah. But it is tough. It is tough. Because these aren't like little things that we're disagreeing on. Right. And being honest about that, I think is good and important. Yeah.
And I think that's, to me, like on that particular thing, there was so much in this sermon that like you'd have to take like one part and go, and, like to be your most authentic self in community, you need trust. And let's talk about what it means to create a trusting environment. And like then what you said, if we want diversity, does that mean that like you just take the political thing, for example? Does that mean we have vastly different things and that we're trying to get onto a common ground? Does it mean we're trying to find a middle point? Does it mean we were trying to find to agree to disagree? And the answer is way more complicated. So like, and I remember a few years back thinking about this, and basically what you just said was kind of like, I don't think the point for me with someone that I might really disagree with is to get to a middle ground. I think the point is just for me, taking responsibility on myself, is to see them as a human and respect their humanity. Yeah. Because that's the problem that we are running into right now, is we've got so sordid, and then we demonize and dehumanize the people that aren't in our camp. Yeah. The point isn't for me to agree with you. Yeah. The point is for me to say you're a human, you're rational, and somehow we're on a different point. But if we can still somehow land that I love and respect you, and then I think some of that begins to take care of itself in other ways that are harder to explain. But I think that's the point, right? Like, and I think that goes to what we were talking about in the sense of belonging. It is so hard, because the temptation, it's so much easier to either not talk about it, to hide yourself. The hard work is to say, how could we be authentic with one another? And that's really hard work. Yeah. But in an environment of trust and love, which hopefully the church is striving to do.
Yeah.
That would, if we could really cultivate that, I think that's when a lot of us would be surprised at, oh, this difference isn't as bad as I thought it would be.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I know teenagers get such a bad rep, but I was...
Oh, teenagers.
The worst.
Oh.
But as I was like looking at the youth group last night with this kind of message like still ringing in my ears, like they know they can't really totally help but be who they are at this point, because it's still like they're still so in the middle of forming who they are.
Yeah.
And so they bring all their goofy and all their incredibly smart and all of their really good questions.
Yep.
And they bring it all, right? And they call each other out on their ridiculous behavior. I mean, so lightning
And we have
fast.
like a really smart, like intuitive
We have an amazing
crew
group
of kids that will call you on like...
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they see each other and they don't shrink away from each other. And I will say, we have a pretty like eclectic group of kids. But they're probably more aligned with each other than not, as far as like values and...
Yeah.
And so that maybe makes that a little easier, you know, but they all are interested in very different things. They're all in very different levels of, I mean, just age and like education, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because you've got from 6th grade to 12th grade, but even if you took like just our 12th graders, you know, the seniors are the things that they're interested in, the things that they're learning, the things that they want to do after school, like it's all very different. And yet they all just feel, they will articulate it because they did last night. They just feel this like sense of like cohesion in the group. And the only binding factor is that this is our place to come together. And you're supposed to be able to be yourself.
Yeah.
Like we don't pick on each other. We might like
Yeah.
call each other out on our behavior, but we don't like, we're not bullying, we're not picking on each other.
Yeah.
Like this is a place where people are wanted as they are, and they do that. Like they keep those boundaries.
Yeah.
And you know, it's easier in a smaller group. I mean, it's not, 200 people, it's 35, but I think it is really, for me, it was like a really, to have that in my head, feel that my personal challenge, and then to see how these students are living into that was really impressive.
Yeah.
One of the other things that really stood out to me was a phrase that I think I won't say you like threw it away, but I assume you must have said it before.
Yeah.
And so you didn't like hit it hard, but I don't remember hearing it before. You said that we in the church are co-workers in doubt and faith.
Oh.
And I was like, did you steal that from somewhere? Is that like some kind of thing?
No, it was just that was sort of one of the on the whim sort of things.
That was a beautiful phrase,
That's
friend.
good. That's good.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you build a community. That's how you build a life. Whether that's like just in your family or with a church, or even larger than that, like just in community in general. Yep. In what we believe and in what we are not sure about, we work on this together. I just thought that was amazing. Yeah. It's a good phrase.
Thanks.
Look at that.
Woohoo.
Just the brain and the Holy Spirit, just like some kind of convergence happening there. I loved it. I did. I felt really inspired and challenged by the message. I mean, I'm not trying to make you. Does it make you uncomfortable when people are complimentary?
No, because I have bad sermons and good sermons, and you trust that God's at work in all of them. So.
Yeah, it was amazing. I loved this sort of. I left with this feeling of, like I said, being challenged, but also really inspired. Of like, yeah, if like Lydia and this former slave, who I really wish had a name. Me too. And the jailer could all like be in church together in a time where like those differences are way more egregious than they would be even now. Right. If they can do that and hold Christ at the center of that and trust somehow that that's enough, that they're not trying to solve it. They're just trying to be together. Yep. Surely I can do that too. Surely I can do a little bit, because I'm not being asked to do that. Yeah. I am to an extent, but like that's not who We don't have that kind of eclectic walking through the door right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I hope we're growing towards. I think we are.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the challenge part. But the inspiration part was there too.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought about what does that look like for us to be brave and vulnerable, you know, in like sort of the microcosm of our homes even.
Yeah.
Because I tell parents this all the time. I feel like one of the markers of like a really great parent is when they've got multiple kids. Not that you have to have multiple kids, but if you have multiple kids, you can tell they're really great parents when all of the kids are very different, but everybody has their space. Yeah. Because it is so hard to let people, especially the little people that you raise, be themselves. Because listen, before they're born, you know this, you have this idea of who they could be. And as they grow because they do come pre-wired with a lot of personality all on their own, right? Yeah. There's a lot of nurture. I'm not denying that, but there's a lot of nature too. Yeah. And as kids grow, like they become themselves. Yeah. And learning to celebrate that and hold space for that, to model what that looks like or what that should look like for all of their other relationships. Yes, baby, you can show up just like this. Yeah. And you should be welcome and loved just like this. Yeah. And also other people are going to show up and you need to welcome and love them as well. Yeah. I think that's it's a really tough thing, but if we can do that in our families, to just really to set that stage for, how we want them to interact with the rest of the world and how they're going to build their own communities. Yeah. I think that can be really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot, and I feel like there's a lot of ways of doing that. I mean, there's letting your kids lead in their self-interest. I think about myself. One of the things that was really helpful for me that I've learned a lot from Hannah is sort of an emotional belonging. As someone who I think more nature versus nurture, more of my just nature was sort of didn't know my emotions well. And like one of the things I really appreciate about Hannah, who's helped me, is like letting your home be a space to like really allow for that. And I think that allows, for me, that's been a growth of learning authenticity in myself now. And now for Miley and Phoebe, I hope that we can help create that sort of emotional authenticity. And so I think there's, I think as a parent, there's just a lot of different directions, or not even just a parent, just anyone that has any sort of like kind of small nucleus of people that you're caring for, like creating that space that you don't have a lot of control over a lot of areas. I mean, to a degree, yeah, we all have the responsibility at a church. That's what we're trying to do together. But if you have a smaller influence, like some sort of family type of unit, you have a really great opportunity to create that sort of sacred space that says, here I can allow you to really be authentic emotionally, in your interests, in your style, in whatever, creating that. And I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, for sure.
For kids.
Yeah. I'm excited for the series to continue, and I know we have lots of other things we're going to talk about and kind of flesh this out more, and I'm looking forward to that. I do feel like it's so timely and appropriate, which I know it's not an accident. Like you own a calendar.
You own a calendar.
That's what I said. I stand by it.
You own a calendar.
Know how to plan things. Yeah. But I also I am excited. I feel like it's going to be a really good one. And yeah, I'm also just super excited about fall. Is that weird?
No, I think we are all ready for it. I can't remember who I was telling this the other day, but like this is the point of the year. Maybe it was you. This is the point of the year where like I'm ready for fall. And if it's 90 degrees, I'm still dressing aspirationally for fall weather.
Oh, 100%.
It's like
100%. I told you earlier, I definitely bought a cardigan the other day off of TikTok, like the shameless person that I am, that has bats on it.
Yeah.
It's got bats, and I'm gonna wear it, and I'm really excited.
We're ready for it.
I'm ready for the pumpkins.
Yeah.
I'm ready for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the whole bit. I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
This whole season. I'm not gonna be quiet about it. I'm here for it.
Good.
I'm here for it.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you have found some inspiration and encouragement for yourself and for your family. If you'd like to get our weekly podcast delivered directly to you, you can subscribe or follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. For more information about Katy First and upcoming events for your family, you can visit our website at katyfirst.org. Most importantly, we want you to know that in the middle of your ordinary, messy life, whatever that looks like for you today, that you are loved, you are not alone, and you are doing a good job.
And we hope you'll join us again for week 2 of the sermon series. This coming Sunday, we're talking about what it means when you feel like you're far from home. This is probably the Sunday that inspired most this whole series.
Okay.
And I think it'll touch in a lot of different spaces for us. So, we'll touch on that. But until then, let's enjoy the hint of fall.
I'm literally just going to go lay in the grass.
Have a great week. We'll see you later.
Bye.